at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of talk about training data. And
Mm-hmm.
so for people who don't really, they're like, what does that even mean? It's the fuel in the car of AI. It's
Yeah.
what data or knowledge is being used
Mm-hmm.
in the AI to respond.
Yeah.
That has biases, and it's important. And that's why we really want people to get into Twin Protocol, other protocols that you're basically contributing your training data and being intentional with it so
Mm-hmm.
that it's not just white male training data
Uh-huh. Yeah.
that, or like US based, that it's more inclusive.
Uh-huh.
So that's super important because whether it's either there or not. So
Yeah.
I think from a diversity and inclusion perspective, getting involved on that kind of grassroots level with training data.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we're talking about, what we've talked about previously regarding leadership
Mm-hmm.
and product design and product development, having women
Mm-hmm.
and women identifying many other types of people and all the
Mm-hmm.
different criterias.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so critical to build products and tools that we use that will actually help us. And people don't know what they don't know. So
No.
I mean, there's a huge gap
Mm-hmm.
with just why I'm passionate about women is there's a lot of statistics around how, you know, we raise the children and
Mm-hmm.
caregive. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge part that impacts every single human being.
Yeah.
Being able to caregive,
Yeah.
have support. So having those perspectives to build tech that actually supports us is just critical.
Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk Jan Upkes, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech, and thank you for listening to episode 76. The voice you just heard belongs to Stacey Engle. Stacey is the CEO and co-founder of Twin Protocol, a company that is redefining the way we think about legacy in the age of AI. Imagine having a digital twin, a virtual version of yourself. This twin captures your knowledge and it reflects your personality and unique experiences. It lets your insights live on for future generations. Sounds like science fiction? Twin Protocol is making it real. In fact, when I prepared for this episode, I spoke to Stacey's digital twin to hear what she wanted to talk about. Of course, there are risks too. For instance, what happens when these twins are hacked? Stacey explains on the show how she and her team protect against threats like hacking and deepfakes. After all, they want their technology to be safe and to shape a better future. We also explore Stacey's journey as a mom and founder. She shares her experience of bringing her 3-year-old son on a 24-day business trip that took them halfway around the world. I found her approach to balancing work and family and her mindset inspiring. So when you're ready to listen and learn about the Twin Protocol to redefine how we preserve our legacy in the age of AI, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Stacey Engle. So Stacey, welcome. Good morning. Good to have you. First question I always ask at the start is how you got into your current job or current position, and floor is yours.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And I love spanning the globe, which I'm doing a lot now in my
Yeah.
current venture. So, I guess uh, panning out a little bit, my first chapter in my career was really in human capital, leadership development, training,
Mm-hmm.
and very focused on helping leaders and teams function better in the workplace and have better and stronger communication.
Mm-hmm.
So built a company in that space with an amazing team that was over a decade of basically building product in the leadership development space and deploying it and working with amazing leaders and founders, and found a love of coaching and really helping people break through limiting
Mm-hmm.
beliefs just on an individual level. So I share that because it's not a linear path to how I got where I am now in this venture with
Yeah.
Twin Protocol. So essentially, I had spent time in that space, and in 2020, like everywhere in the globe, we all
Mm-hmm.
had revisiting of focus and decided that it was time for me to start a new chapter
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I got a dog on a personal level.
Yeah.
I was very excited about that because I was traveling a lot. Got a dog,
Uh-huh.
but also launched a coaching and consulting practice
Mm-hmm.
that also had a process called Authority Lab,
Uh-huh.
which is still active and is very much bridging this concept of leadership and leadership style, and also what you are the author of in your life with your business. So,
Uh-huh.
authority, author. Um, and so, through that process, I started engaging and meeting with a lot of tech founders and AI and blockchain, which I was
Mm-hmm.
not very familiar with at the time, and met my now business partner, Bill Inman, who then he and I had worked on quite a few things with crypto
Mm-hmm.
and blockchain, and he's a blockchain patent holder and very technical and also an amazing leader and human.
Uh-huh.
So he and I started working more closely together, and I got involved in SingularityNet, which is the largest decentralized AI network in the world
Mm-hmm.
and has some of the top leading AI scientists in the world. And there was this idea that was the fledgling idea of Twin Protocol, which is how will we use AI to enable AI twins and basically replicating ourselves.
Yeah.
So we met, and
Mm-hmm.
this concept just really aligned personally from the standpoint of I've seen in all of my career working in leadership development where work is really not working for people
Mm-hmm.
and where biases and things that you talk about on this podcast
Mm-hmm.
come into play, and just how AI and blockchain can really be game changing in how we work as humans. And then I was all in. So I know we're going to talk about Twin, but that's how I
Mm-hmm.
essentially became part of the co-founding team of Twin
Yeah.
Protocol.
So basically, the interesting thing, sort of parallel that I see is it's about enabling people to write their own life story. That
Mm-hmm.
comes back both on Authority Labs and also on Twin Protocol. I think, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's really my passion, to help people realize more potential
Hmm.
and ventures like in business, because I very early on loved building in any
Hmm.
kind of capacities,
Yeah.
either product or companies or teams.
Okay. Cool. So, Twin Protocol. What is that, and what is an AI twin?
Yes.
How
So,
to?
yes. So Twin Protocol is really it's a blockchain protocol and platform that allows individuals and brands, companies to have replicas of themselves. So we'll talk more about AI twins,
Hmm.
but Twin Protocol is a safe and secure place that
Hmm.
you will essentially you're able to create a training data set. So create a
Hmm.
profile and a whole knowledge base that then you can utilize AI in
Hmm.
multiple ways. So this isn't just about using and creating an AI that could be an avatar or a chatbot. It's
Hmm.
really, we're the safe and secure place to store the data, curate it, so then you can plug it in. So
Hmm.
someone could have an avatar and a chatbot and a hologram live all at the same time. So Twin Protocol
Ah.
is the blockchain. It's a blockchain and AI convergence.
Hmm.
So it allows you to basically have a vault
Hmm.
that you can plug in. And
Okay,
why
and
this matters,
yeah.
and this is really, Twin is about the next generation of communication. So
Hmm.
we do see this as game changing,
Hmm.
as the telephone, mail, the internet, because in the very near future, we will have AIs communicating more and more on our behalf,
Hmm.
and our AIs will talk with other AIs. So this is where Twin Protocol plays as a category.
Yeah.
And then also, to answer your question, what is an AI twin?
Hmm.
An AI twin is essentially a digital replica and or counterpart. So it doesn't have to be your whole counterpart of a human or an object. And in this case with Twin Protocol, we are starting with the human, the human
Okay.
side.
Yeah. Why the human side, by the way?
Well, it's a huge need from a training data. I mean, a digital twin isn't a new
Hmm.
concept. It's
Hmm.
actually, it's been worked on in the 80s, 90s, and it's
Yeah.
very, I mean, there are digital twins in most large building and infrastructure where there's essentially a replica of a physical being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so
It
that's more of
wasn't.
a commonplace.
Yeah, so there wasn't an immediate urgent business need, let's say, let's say, on the company and brand side, because they already have this to some extent, and then
Yes,
on an individual level, there is then more demand.
there isn't as much, and it's a budding space. And particularly with now the capabilities with chips and power, and we can talk more about what
Hmm.
AI, what's required for AI to live and breathe. But
Hmm.
with the advent of more advanced AI
Hmm.
mixed with what can happen if we don't have identification
Hmm.
associated with that. So
Yeah.
the problems with deep fakes and lack of trust and lack of transparency, that's
Yeah.
where we saw the biggest opportunity to solve problems for people and organizations.
Ah, okay. So the solution also deals with exactly the what is probably everyone's worst nightmare, that there's a deepfake AI out there that somehow takes over my identity. Because
Exactly.
if you're European, you're more looking at the risks of things, and this was definitely one of the things where I was like, oh, hmm,
It
interesting.
is a risk. So that's
Yeah.
where Twin Protocol really comes in, because your training data has a twin ID, which
Hmm.
is an identifier on blockchain, so it's more secure and transparent.
Hmm.
And then you have a twin vault, which is essentially where your training data sits. So it's a
Yeah.
place to direct and
Mm,
show that this is your validated training data and your
mm,
validated AI in the case that someone would make a deep fake or do other things.
yeah. Okay. So just about that the vault that you talked about. How do I fill it? With what do I fill it? Is that with your YouTube videos, your blogs, your songs,
Yes,
your
all those things.
knowledge?
Your knowledge. And I mean, for you personally,
Yeah.
I'll say that Women Disrupting Tech can have a twin with
Yeah.
all of the podcasts,
Yeah.
so that
Ah.
people can query and learn even potentially what are the top five that they should be listening to, if they land on your podcast
Mm-hmm.
and don't know they want to start.
Yeah.
So that's just a very simple use case.
Yeah.
But essentially, yes, to train your twin, it's pretty easy, but this is part of our roadmap of what we're building in the
Uh-huh.
space. So to start your twin, you would do, just from a default perspective, you do a voice sample, you verify your identity, And then the vault starts to get populated by any knowledge that you have published or not. So it can be
Mm.
publicly available and it can be in multiple forms, right? So it can be
Yeah.
PDFs, everything that you mentioned, YouTube. And that's why initially we've started go to market with business leaders, thought leaders,
Hmm.
authors, and content creators because
Yeah.
there's just more accessible and easy ways to fill the vault.
Hmm.
And you already have training data that you should claim and own because the
Hmm.
reality is if you're posting this content on the internet, and particularly if it's hosted by any big tech platforms,
Hmm.
they're already using your data and
Yeah.
podcasts, et cetera, to train their LLMs.
Yeah.
And that's a huge place that in the next couple years will be big discussions, and there are predictions of how we will talk about our data ownership. So this is really a proactive way people can start to curate in a knowledge economy
Yeah.
what
And
their vault is and what their knowledge is.
yeah, and also indeed then essentially indeed write their own story instead of having
Exactly.
some AI at Google, Amazon, or Apple, or OpenAI write it for them,
I
which
love that
can.
so much. I love it so much that you made that connection because that's exactly what I talk about when I speak on Authority Lab because it's if you're not writing your story, someone else is doing it for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And this is taking ownership and taking the steering wheel in the AI age.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about use cases. So I've been figuring, can I use this, for instance, for public speaking, that I go, that people can book me online to be an online speaker, and then I just send my AI twin over, or they log on to my AI twin. I would say, would figure it works, while I'll do an in-person session elsewhere. Is that?
Absolutely. So I've already done that the last
Yeah.
4 months. So
Yeah.
there have been lots of times. I have a 3-year-old. I am involved in quite a few things. I also advise some companies, and yeah, the time and prioritization is key. But allowing your message and what you want to share with the world to be further expanded and optimized is definitely a use case for AI twins. So yes, public speaking. And what's a great value add is it isn't just because I think people, they make memes or jokes about, well, I wasn't good enough to get the human form. I'm getting the AI twin. But what you can also do is license and offer your twin, which can be an advanced audio chatbot, to all of the audience in the conference so that they can actually get a personalized experience that is much more valuable in some ways than
Ah,
the just the talk, right?
yeah.
Because you can go public speak and have a 45-minute or 60-minute, but to license then your AI twin to because every time someone speaks to your twin, you can earn money,
Huh?
uh, and you can also license or monetize that because people need to buy points right now in our system.
Yeah.
So essentially, you could credit that to them and give their audience X amount of questions so that they can go deeper with the content.
Yeah, it's a bit
Um,
like what you do on the website, that you actually can get to ask 5 questions for free.
yes. So on our website, twinprotocol.com, you can access AI twins, including mine, which I know you had told me you had prepped some of this.
Yeah.
Um, so you can, yeah. So for instance, I could book a conference, say my AI twin, either in avatar form or in a different form.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to do the talk with that. And then for every audience member, they could have 20 questions
Yeah.
to ask me. And what's powerful about that is, a one to many talk does
Hmm.
not necessarily meet everyone where they are or what they're needing to hear from the content or the message. So
No.
your AI twin can really serve them more personally.
Yeah, and you can actually, without interfering with the public talk, ask a question.
Exactly.
and get an answer, because that's with bit what popped into my mind. I was like, oh, that's actually
And then
it's
in multiple languages,
yeah.
because I mean, I do global conversations and talks, and
Hmm?
right now we have up to 37 languages that someone could just ask the question in their native language and then the twin would answer.
Ah, yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Yes. So it's really game changing because in our analytics, we actually do see people's communities
Hmm.
ask different questions, not just in
Hmm.
how they ask, right? From a diction perspective with
Hmm.
language, they ask categorically different themes
Hmm.
based on where they are in the world and what
Yeah,
resonates with that market,
yeah, that's where biases come in as well.
for sure.
But then in a well, let's say in a normal way, because it just
Yeah.
happens. So just to make sure, because we talked a bit about the abuse side and the risk side. Um, there's because it's on the blockchain, just going to assume, and I'm testing this with you, um, that there's the cryptography of the blockchain is also in place as a protection layer around the logging on to the vault. um, what else is there in place to protect the twins from being abused?
Quite a few things just from, so basically what we have in the protocol
Mm-hmm.
from a tech stack perspective is we have the vaults and then we have a proprietary layer called Persona AI
Uh-huh.
that basically helps fine tune prompt do certain things that will make it first person, that responses first person will make it sound, and eventually with some emotive technologies, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
sound emote kind of like you would.
Uh-huh.
And then it's connected to LLMs, so large language models or AI tools that everyone probably is aware of now, even if you're not technical or not playing with
Mm-hmm.
AI very much. But OpenAI, Gemini, Llama, a bunch of AI
Yeah.
models. So
Okay.
in that persona AI are protective measures around what your AI will respond to based on your vault or
Mm-hmm.
not.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about an AI twin actually getting abused, there are measures there in
Mm-hmm.
the build, and then of course there's moderation and some other guidelines and community guidelines that we're consistently building to create
Mm-hmm.
safety. Essentially, people are able to permission what data is in their vault
Yeah.
as well. So if you had a vault that you only wanted certain people in your family to be able to ask certain questions,
Uh-huh.
you would be able to permission that as
Ah.
well, which is also another use case because we are working with individuals who want this to be part of their legacy. So essentially, they're training their AI twin to then have so that their great great grandchildren could have access, or their trust, or if they're a celebrity, you could have voiceover work, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
be happening and presence be happening with your
Yeah.
likeness
Uh-huh.
even post physical death.
Yeah, I was about to say that you can actually also do your will in there and put it there, like,
Lots of
okay,
life
this is,
lock.
yeah.
Yes, because right now that's very gray area just from a podcast perspective. Even like if something would happen to someone, what
Mm-hmm.
happens to all the ownership of that podcast, etc.? That's an
Yeah.
example of something that you could have in your vault
Yeah.
and
And
it
then,
be part of that will. Yes. So with that and with all of these come a lot of ethical conversations, like what benefits humanity,
mm-hmm.
what hinders us, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
grieving, just these are huge topics, mental health,
Yeah.
attachment to AI companions. There's so much there that
Yeah.
it's about intentionality,
Mm-hmm.
partnering with organizations that, like Singularity Net being one of our partners, that is all about building beneficial AI that
Mm-hmm.
is not just in service to corporate profits
Yeah.
and corporate measures.
I know.
So it's an ongoing daily. part of the criteria that we're building at Twin Protocol to ensure that we have the right mix of advisors, the right
Yeah.
mix of tech, the right mix of guidelines.
Yeah, and that sounds like a really big puzzle because those, let's say, the guidelines and the opinions about AI are going to shift. They're already shifting, but they are shifting over time. So basically, your whole framework should shift then with it. How do you do that? Is that a
It's an
question?
ongoing,
Huh?
robust, I mean, it's a journey, and this isn't any different than any tech we have now or any innovation that has been created. Like I
Uh-huh.
always say, it must have been really scary for certain people to put the most important documents that they only had like one or two copies of in the
Uh-huh.
mail for the first time
Yeah.
when mail was a new concept. Will it
Mm-hmm.
actually arrive?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So what would happen if someone opens the mail, right? And
Yeah.
so there are so many systems that have inherent trust
Yeah.
in them. So you have to always go back to that, and then intention, and then having the right advising and people, and that you never have it completely figured out, in
Mm-hmm.
the sense of you always need to be working on continuous improvement and have your eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I'm very passionate about,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons why I know we decided that putting certain people in place of where they
Yeah.
are,
Uh-huh.
because I do feel like we've learned a lot about the internet and things that have worked for us and things that
Mm-hmm.
have not.
Yeah.
You know, even like minor policy, who's responsible,
Mm-hmm.
who for moderation, all of these things. So it's taking all
Yeah.
those learnings and making a better version for everyone.
Yeah. Do you have any human moderation on it?
Oh, yes, we have humans in the loop. Well, so we have humans in the loop with AI flagging things, which is very common right now,
Mm-hmm.
with any kind of AI tools. I was at AI for Good in Geneva,
Mm-hmm.
that's put on by the United Nations every year,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of conversation about how AI has helped actually find that balance with human in the loop,
Mm-hmm.
given how many how much trauma can happen if people, like in human trafficking,
Mm-hmm.
drug trafficking, primarily it used to be all humans reviewing everything, and
Mm-hmm.
there'd be a lot of trauma with, you know, photographs, what's exposed. And now AI has been able to help augment so that you're looking at the right things and it's not as,
Intrusive?
yeah, intrusive. So humans in the loop are really critical.
Yeah.
However, it's a balance, and it's being transparent about what's shown or not, which we are in Twin Protocol, because we are wanting to, for you to be enabled to permission and have that privacy and control.
Uh-huh.
So it's, from my perspective, it's very much about us just constantly being transparent, publishing what it is, and educating so
Yeah.
people can make decisions.
Okay, so I want to shift a bit in terms
Yep.
of topics because you managed to land Deepak Chopra and the members of Cool in the Gang and
Yes.
some more celebrities as customers. Um, Two questions, I guess. One is how did you educate them about your product, and two is what persuaded them to use the AI twin.
Yes. So, well, we're very, very lucky to partner with who we're partnering with. They're
Mm-hmm.
amazing visionaries and human beings. And some of it was very kismet from the standpoint of they were already working on AIs and interested in how it could work for them,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they are progressive. For instance, Dr. Deepak Chopra, he just launched his book in last month
Mm-hmm.
that's called Digital Dharma, how AI can basically help your spiritual wisdom and your personal well-being.
Yeah.
So it's
It
how AI can
sounds like
be
really
a
interesting.
guru. Yes. So he was working on this book, and it was a natural pairing of what our philosophy and values were
Mm-hmm.
and creating trust and transparency and the tools and communication. So I think the biggest thing that resonates with any of our clients and partners that we're working with is
Mm-hmm.
a new form of communication. Like how you immediately went to public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is we're so constrained right now by time,
Yeah.
and AI
Yeah.
can help us
Yeah. Cool in the
really
gang used.
unlock.
Yeah. Cool in the
Yes.
gang used to travel all around the world to do gigs, and now they can be in, well, five, six places at the same time if they want to.
Exactly. So Cool is very excited to use it from like a legacy perspective
Uh
and
huh.
connecting with his audience in new ways, and his
Yeah.
business partner Mohammed, who's also an artist with the group. And you can check out both of their twins on
Yeah.
twinprotocol.com, and then you can check out Dr. Deepak Chopra at digitaldeepak.ai.
Uh huh.
Uh, and Cool and Mohammed are very interested in helping move their mission forward with songs that are just so iconic
Yeah.
that people know, like Celebrate, Get Down on It, all these
Yeah.
things that basically songs that have brought us together.
Mm-hmm.
People don't really know anything about them. And actually, Cool and the Gang was just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Oh, okay.
last
Yeah.
weekend. So just anyone there was an uptick of people asking questions to his AI twin
Mm-hmm.
as he was accepting the speech. So that's an example. But yeah, to go back to your question, very much resonating on how to use this technology that isn't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool. How
Yeah.
can I play with it? How can I use it? And it really resonated as we started talking about this as a way to connect with your audience in a personalized way. That,
Is that also a personalized conversation that you really have to do on a one by one basis?
well, just from the fact that if you access their twins, you can ask them anything you want.
No, no,
So,
no. Sorry. What
yeah.
I meant to say is basically you persuading them to that you're the right choice. Is that a one-on-one conversation based on their individual
Oh,
needs
yes,
and
we were
wants?
having conversations with them based on our amazing network and people who knew what these individuals are working on or interested in. So
Uh-huh.
yes, we having the individual conversations about what is twin protocol, why should we try this together,
Mm-hmm.
um, and really panning out, because just like any business or product,
Mm-hmm.
it's what problem are you solving
Yeah.
that is poignant now for them, or where's the opportunity that they can really fill in. So
Mm-hmm.
for Dr. Deepak Chopra, it's very much leaving a larger mark, like our goal in some of the ventures with his AI, as well as basically his whole ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
that he puts on retreats around the world. Top doctors and body workers, healers, gurus,
Mm-hmm.
all are involved. How can people have more access to this?
Yeah.
Which is a huge part of their vision and mission, and how we play into that, because
Mm-hmm.
we can create more access, we can democratize knowledge, we can also use technology, building platforms like connecting your rings and watches and things to
Yeah.
real time feedback and interaction
Yeah.
with
And
twins.
yeah, and with twins and
Yeah,
do people actually, yeah, I I I I assume they know that they're talking to a twin. Well, if if you're seeing someone on stage and you're talking to that person on your screen, yes, you know. But do they know it's a virtual person
they
on
should
the?
always know,
Yeah.
is our stance with twin protocol, because at
Okay.
the end of the day you shouldn't be questioning. And I do think there'll be a lot of compliance and regulation, and we're part of conversations and have advisors that are, at the White House in the US and United Nations, and
Mm-hmm.
also in big tech like Google and others that are, looking at what will requirements be
Mm-hmm.
that will be more legislated around a watermark, other mechanisms
Mm-hmm.
to basically verify. And that
Mm-hmm.
is where Twin Protocol falls in, because we will have that blockchain verification
Mm-hmm.
that is critical to know. So we're big endorsers of you shouldn't be questioning. And I get asked this almost every interview, because they'll be is
Yeah.
this the AI twin of Stacey or the human or
Yeah.
meat version of Stacey?
Yeah.
I forget that someone said that to me. So anytime my AI twin's used, it's shown that it's
Yeah.
used, and I would encourage anyone who is even playing around with AI to be proactive with that, because it is about your reputation and the whole
Yeah.
field of where AI falls in, which is a tool.
Yeah.
It's not the end all be all.
So, switching gears again,
Uh-huh.
women in AI are not that common, I think. Why do you think is that? Because you sort of, for lack of a better word, landed in AI sort of by accident. Well, you stumbled upon it, and then
And saw
your
the
co-founder,
opportunity.
you saw the
Yeah.
opportunity, and then you had the opportunity to co-found. But why do you think other women not yet discovered AI?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question, because I mean, a lot of it I think is exposure. I mean, AI is a newer field, so
Mm-hmm.
there's that. I partner and work with Mission Impact Academy, which has a goal of onboarding 1 million non-technical, which, by the way, most everyone will be non-technical once AI does a lot of the coding and other
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
But so there's that whole definition in of itself is going to evolve, but
Mm-hmm.
they have a goal of reskilling and training 1 million women by 2030, and I'm part of their think tank and things like that. So I think it's a matter of awareness and education of what
Mm-hmm.
it is and interest. I also think AI is going to impact every industry, and there are stats that support this, right? It will be
Yeah.
by 2030, there's stats that it will build 15 trillion in productivity. That's in 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
in that time span, which is in relation, like the food services industry, like some
Yeah.
of the top industries in the world. So it's a big deal. I think more women will get involved, and I'm on a mission to help. Why they aren't, I just think there's a lot of fear narrative. That's one. Two, it's just lack of education. And three, just it's
Is it also
hesitancy or tech. I don't know.
is it also lack of role models
I mean,
as part of the exposure? Then.
I think, I mean, I've always been passionate about that. I'm also on the board of Take the Lead Women, which
Mm-hmm.
is all about creating gender parity across all industries
Mm-hmm.
by next year, which there's been amazing traction
Oh, I thought
in
I
that
was
space.
really ambitious with my 2032 targets.
Yes. Well, there will be more. I've been on the board. Gloria Feltz, who's a co founder of that, and she was the former CEO of Planned Parenthood
Uh-huh.
here in the US. She's absolutely amazing. The work that we do there is very much about power
Mm-hmm.
and how women associate themselves with power and the power that they have. So it's very much limiting beliefs that women have of like, oh, I wouldn't be in AI because I'm not technical, or why would I be in a tech company if I don't have any experience being in a tech company? So
Yeah.
those are real things that hold women back and have
Yeah.
regardless of industry. And
Yeah.
but as far as role modeling, that's why I was very passionate about stepping all in to the CEO role here at Twin,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have to be technical to lead a tech company. You need to be curious and lead and learn about AI. And I
Uh-huh.
do know a lot, and I have become technical through the journey.
Yeah.
But I
Uh,
think that limiting belief of, oh, I can't,
can
I
do it.
wouldn't get involved in that because I've never done it or I don't have experience. Women, like statistically and in research, feel like they need to be way more qualified than men.
Yeah, that's a certainty. You see that back in job applications where women only apply when they meet like 110% of the requirements, and men are usually applying when it's 60%, and
Half,
they just
yeah.
think we'll just bluff and hack our way through the rest of the other 40%. So yeah,
And
that
there is
I.
something to that, though. There
Huh?
is something to your feelings of your own power and
Hmm.
ability. And that's what we're talking about
Yeah.
with Take the Lead curriculum, and just at the end of the day, belief and confidence that you have skills that can translate and build.
Yeah. Is it also in part access to tech education and maybe also societal expectations that need to change?
I know a lot of experts that have amazing research and thoughts on this. Uh, from a personal perspective,
Uh-huh.
I think some of it is interest as well. I mean, I
Yeah.
think about a lot of things with brand, and especially being here in the United States, which this culture is in other parts of the world as well. But the idea of, the classic Silicon Valley startup
Hmm.
and what that looks like and what that brand is and wanting to even be a part of it
Hmm.
is, I think, can be very limiting. And that relates to education because some of those education centers
Yeah.
are around, from a location perspective and just
Uh,
access
yeah.
to that network, that education,
Yeah. Stanford being
and
the.
yeah, Stanford, others. Um, so I think education is one piece of the puzzle.
Hmm.
I think it's also just what people are building and
Hmm.
what problems they're solving, and if that interests women. I think it's a human thing as well. Like, I think
Yeah.
yes, it's a women and access, but that relates to every gender and socioeconomic criteria as well.
Yeah.
Like not having access to
Yeah.
education.
So before the show, we talked about your personal situation. So
Yes.
you're, as of the time of recording, you're 8 months pregnant of your
Yes.
second child,
Yes.
and you took your son on a 24-day business trip,
Yes.
pretty much halfway around the world. I know very few parents who A, do that, and B, then do that as part of a business thing. Uh, Help me understand, help listeners understand
Yeah.
what motivated you to do this. Because
Yes.
for the record, I think it's like super cool, and it's also really defying all the expectations that we have of mothers and mothers to be. So I think
Yes.
it's cool to do.
Thank you. Yes. Well, so what motivated me to do that? Well, I really wanted to be able to speak at the events that I was invited to,
Hmm.
and from sages and scientists with Dr. Deepak Chopra, we were talking about AI twins and how that can enhance well-being.
Hmm.
To in Singapore, Token 2049, talking about latest blockchain technologies. I wanted to be part of those conversations and meet people, and then also, so that from the business
Hmm.
side, and then also I really don't want to be away from my son. He's 3 years old,
Yeah.
and I do not want to be away from him for more than a few nights,
Yeah.
honestly, at this stage of his development and this stage of our family. And my husband also has a very demanding full-time career.
Hmm.
So the motivation was really, how can I make this work?
Hmm.
And what limiting beliefs? Because a lot of people said, that's cool, but you're insane. Or why?
Yeah.
And I love international travel too. I guess I should say that as like the third prong. I've
Hmm.
traveled a lot, uh, for pleasure and then a lot for business of just
Mm,
learning and having that FaceTime, especially because I'm about to go into like a newborn cocoon for a little bit
yeah.
with our new family member. So that's what motivated me, those three things. And then yeah, then it became a logistics building
Yeah.
uh, project because it was more of I've decided I'm going to do this.
Uh-huh.
And like my mother always says about me, once that happens, there's really nothing that's going to stop it from
Yeah.
happening.
Uh-huh. And yeah, I think that, yeah. But I think it's really cool. I also think it's logistically challenging, let's say. So
Yes.
how did you go about arranging this? Is this something you can sort of incorporate in your easily in your travel schedule with the organizers of events, that they pay for an extra ticket or so, or a
Sometimes.
hotel?
So it was a mix of all those things. So, I mean, I've been lucky from a village perspective, and anyone who's listening to this that has
Mm.
helped me, I love you and you know who you are.
Uh-huh.
um, from family to friends to also hired help, like a mix of all of that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and hired support. This is something that I really think as we want more and more women to step into executive positions and
Mm-hmm.
leadership positions, we need to rethink what benefits really matter to women. So for instance, I believe that if someone's job, of course AI twins can help augment this, which
Yeah.
is a great thing, can help augment and really prioritize how you spend your time. And if you enjoy that and want to do it, like
Mm.
travel and be out there, then perhaps there are benefits that, in the first 2 years, especially in countries like the US that have very limited maternity leaves,
Mm-hmm.
that there are benefits of bringing a family or having other supplemented childcare help.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of that has to be looked at. And that's what I'm really modeling and working through on a personal level of how to do it
Yeah.
and blend it. Because it's not really a balance either. I've never thought it's like work life balance. It's more of that blending and what you're willing to compromise and what you're willing to not, and then
Yeah.
really
And
looking at options.
yeah, and personal, the personal connection with your son is not something you want to compromise on. That's clear.
For sure. And I have amazing memories of him now in all of these different places. And it was an amazing time for us to
How did
travel.
how did he experience the whole travel thing?
Well, he loves traveling because he's traveled. I mean, he's been to 15 countries, I think, is um, which is a bigger deal, I think, also for the US than it is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes for Europe or other places that have place countries so close
Yeah.
together. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a cultural thing that me and my husband and our family, like, we really care about seeing other ways to live and work and be and exploring the world.
Mm-hmm.
So he loves it. He's he loves being on airplanes, which was good
Oh,
when we did a 15 and a half hour flight. It's
yeah,
not
that
all
helps.
rosy though. I
Uh,
mean, he had just finished potty training and it's not all, roses. There are just it's keeping the end in mind and the overarching goal and being like this is where I want to be and
mm-hmm.
need to be or have committed if
Mm-hmm.
that's the case and making it work. So it's a big mindset piece. And I talk with some of my girlfriends because we have
Mm-hmm.
some of these like mom groups of like new moms or women who are just rethinking their chapter when they have other kids. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you are the CEO
Yeah.
of that experience of
Mm-hmm.
childhood, family. I mean, it's not always the woman. Um, so I'm not saying that because there are lots of different models for family and caregiving. But
Mm-hmm.
in this case, and speaking with from my experience with being
Yeah.
a mom, and I'm actually a CEO of a company, but also that kind of analogy of mindset, values,
Mm-hmm.
how you make decisions, that definitely is like most moms can relate to that, I think.
Yeah. I think mindset is really important in making things work by default,
Totally.
whatever it is.
It's everything. If you don't have the right mindset, you will not get, if you don't have a mindset that serves the results you want, you won't get them. It doesn't matter how many resources you have or anything
How,
else.
how did you, let's say, mentally train yourself for this in terms of mindset? Is there types of training that you do or practices that
Well,
you?
I was in the leadership and training space, so I think
Huh?
that was really amazing. I also grew up with my father in the U.S. He's a U.S. naval officer, and we
Mm-hmm.
moved every 2 years. So some people have been like, "You've been a change manager your whole life."
Yeah. Uh-huh.
When I was in doing work with change management, leadership development. So I think
Mm-hmm.
some of it was upbringing and having adversity, which has just shows whether you're a
Mm-hmm.
child or adult, if you're faced with adversity and then either experiment or have some tools to help you in it,
Yeah.
that you start to really mold mindsets that either work for you or don't, and some awareness. But I think it was a mix of some of my upbringing as well
Mm-hmm.
as being in the leadership development space. I've been coached a lot. I also have gone through certifications and processes,
Mm-hmm.
and I do believe every human should have access to those kinds of tools with
Yeah.
coaching and your mindset because it's everything.
Yeah. So, um, then I think also the AI twins, going back to AI twins and twin protocol, also have a role there that you can actually have access to coaches that way.
Absolutely. That's what was a natural bridge for me
Mm-hmm.
when thinking about how to build this business, because
Yeah.
coaching, leadership development, education, they're all constrained a lot by time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And being able to have new models to reinvent what that looks like
Yeah.
will revolutionize and is already revolutionizing how we learn and communicate. So that's why Twin Protocol's vision is to better the world through knowledge and wisdom sharing,
Yeah.
because ultimately every person has something unique to teach the world, to
Yeah.
share with the world. And our goal is to create this ecosystem that allows you to safely do that and train your twin,
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't really talk about that, but there will be a lot more ingestion. So as
Mm-hmm.
people can self-serve, because Twin will allow every person to
Mm-hmm.
have a twin of themselves pretty
Mm-hmm.
soon
Okay.
to
Cool.
start that process.
Well.
And we'll have developers and other partners developing apps and decentralized apps, DApps, to basically get your life story, get your learnings, get your knowledge. If right now you're listening and you're like, well, I don't have a podcast, or I haven't written over 90 books like Dr. Deepak Chopra,
Mm,
there are ways that you're going to be able to curate your knowledge set and make a difference in the world through basically democratizing your knowledge.
yeah. Even if it can just be a simple voice recording
Absolutely.
or a scribble that you write down every day, or yeah, maybe not your diary. Maybe that's a bit too sensitive, but
That might be permission just for you.
yeah. Although there's quite a bit of diaries that are now public. Anyways, so can AI twins also help change the narrative around women in tech, you think?
Absolutely. I mean, through education, AI
Hmm.
twins can support from a technical or learning perspective. Why would you want to get involved? Like, how is AI going to impact things that you care about
Hmm.
with that tech is building? Then I also think for what we're talking about with mindset, and if women are interested in something but feel like they aren't qualified to do it or
Hmm.
are concerned about taking the first few steps,
Hmm.
AI twins can support you in that mental journey.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So both from a coaching perspective, but also from a knowledge perspective. Then,
Both.
okay, sounds like a really great solution to many
Head and heart.
problems. Yeah, head and heart. Yeah, that was a question I still had. How do you include the heart part? So the empathy part of like if I am talking to a digital twin and I know that it's a digital twin, how do you give it a sort of almost human or near human, I don't know what you call it, experience? Because people in ultimately they want to connect from human to human.
Right. Well, that will be a line that people will decide with their AI twins as well, because there are
Hmm.
places that human to human interaction is still critical and appropriate. And there are lots of areas that AI twins could replace or
Hmm.
augment. But our persona AI and that fine tuning with from
Uh-huh.
a technical perspective, there are emotive loops and ways that basically your eye contact or vocal intonation, because you
Hmm.
can interact right now with our AI twins voice to voice. So
Yeah.
you could basically have a call with them
Yeah.
versus, texting, which that
Hmm.
just voice to voice has a different human kind of interact
Yeah. Connotation.
processing.
Yeah.
Yep, processing. So that will continue to grow. I mean, that's a huge debate in AI around, does AI become sentient?
Yeah.
How is AI sentient? And there's a whole spectrum of that philosophy,
Do you think it's
because at
important?
the end of the day, it's a mirroring
Uh-huh.
of human, and right now it's very knowledge based. But as we
Mm-hmm.
move from AI to artificial general intelligence, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically human level intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
to then artificial super intelligence, which super intelligence is basically
Mm-hmm.
domain expertise in every single field, Nobel Prize, like from a knowledge perspective,
Mm-hmm.
way above human intelligence
Yeah.
from that standpoint. That being a different conversation than, well, does AI ever have a soul? Dr.
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra would say no. And most would say no. Can they mimic certain things over time? Well, this is all the why ethics and having people from all life stages,
Mm-hmm.
all regions of the world, all weighing in and building and using AI will help craft and support
Yeah.
what's created.
Because that's a great bridge to my last question on diversity. How important is diversity and inclusion? Because you just mentioned like we should all build this together.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important to you and
I
to
think
to
it's
AI
so
quality?
critical because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of talk about training data. And
Mm-hmm.
so for people who don't really, they're like, what does that even mean? It's the fuel in the car of AI. It's
Yeah.
what data or knowledge is being used
Mm-hmm.
in the AI to respond.
Yeah.
That has biases, and it's important, and that's why we really want people to get into to win protocol, other protocols that you're basically contributing your training data and being intentional with it, so
Mm-hmm.
that it's not just white male training data
Uh-huh. Yeah.
that, or like US based, that it's more inclusive.
Uh-huh.
So that's super important, because whether it's either there or not. So
Yeah.
I think from a diversity and inclusion perspective, getting involved on that kind of grassroots level with training data.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we've talked about previously regarding leadership
Mm-hmm.
and product design and product development, having women
Mm-hmm.
and women identifying many other types of people and all the
Mm-hmm.
different criterias,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so critical to build products and tools that we use that will actually help us. And people don't know what they don't know. So
No.
I mean, there's a huge gap
Mm-hmm.
with just why I'm passionate about women is there's a lot of statistics around how you know, we raise the children and
Mm.
caregive. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge part that impacts every single human being.
Yeah.
Being able to caregive,
Yeah.
have support. So having those perspectives to build tech that actually supports us is just critical. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm very lucky to have a lot of women leaders at Twin,
Uh-huh.
and I work in these other ventures and nonprofits. And thank you so much for having me here, because anywhere that we can support that
Yeah.
important message and then also give actionable ways
Mm-hmm.
that you can start, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's critical.
Sounds like a great place to close. So I'm on a mission to make DEI obsolete in tech, DEI in tech obsolete by the end of 2032. Uh, what's your expert advice to get that done?
We'll keep doing what you're doing with having these conversations. I think
Huh.
that's critical. I think we should enable your AI twin so women can ask questions
Yeah,
to you
that
and like
sounds like,
access this data vault. I think
yeah,
that's like obviously from our conversation something
yeah,
that it's how do you democratize that knowledge more
yeah,
and support what you've created by having more reach.
yeah.
So if that's your goal, which is an amazing one, and I'm
Hmm?
definitely behind, I think those are easy places to start. I'm pretty pragmatic in that way.
Okay. Well, the I will take you up on the digital twin part because I
Great.
actually do see the potential of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm a bit because I was raised in risk management, at least professionally. I'm sort of like, okay, let's look at the positives of this, not that immediately go like, oh, this is a big
Yes.
risk. Yeah, thanks for an amazing conversation, Stacey.
Thank
Really,
you.
really insightful. If people want to learn more about you, about Twin Protocol, about your wonderful AI twins, where should they go?
Yeah, so go to our website, twinprotocol.com. You can, like you had mentioned, you can have 5 free questions.
Mm-hmm.
So you can set up an account and right away interact with my twin or Cool in the Gangs or go to digitaldepop.ai. There's lots of options to interact. And then
Cool.
you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm active and post updates, and we have a whole Twin Protocol company update. And just get involved in AI. This is an easy place to start, and there are lots of resources and tools I share on LinkedIn. And then I'm also on Twitter at Stacey Engle.
Okay. Well, we'll include those links in the show notes.
Great.
Stacey Engle, thank you very, very, very much for this wonderful conversation. Listeners, thank you very much for listening. Viewers, thank you very much for viewing because this is going to be on video. And until the next episode, keep being awesome. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to episode 76 of Women Disrupting Tech with Stacey Engle about the Twin Protocol to redefine how we preserve our legacy in the age of AI. A special thank you to Mr. Ray Vincenzo for his help in making this episode possible. Stacey and I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation as much as we did. And if you'd like to learn more about Stacey and Twin Protocol, or if you want to try the digital twin of Stacey and Cool in the Gang, feel free to connect with her via the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog. On the same website, you can also become a member of the Women Disrupting Tech community. Members get early access to new episodes, and in the weekly newsletter, I'll share with you what I learned from each of the episodes. So check out the show notes for a link. When you're looking for a role model to inspire your own hero's journey in tech, I invite you to check out one of the other episodes of this podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And if you're a regular listener, please give the show a rating or a review because that way you help other people discover the podcast. If you're a male ally and you want to help the Women Disrupting Tech make this podcast obsolete by the end of 2032, there's a simple thing you can do. Please share the podcast with friends, family, and coworkers because this way you give my guests a platform they need to make it happen. Finally, if you want to connect with me, you can reach me via Dirkjan at womendisruptingtech.blog, or you can send me a DM on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, simply type in my name and you'll find me. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode, and until then, keep being awesome.